Woman notices son disappear daily after his dad's death, sees him visiting abandoned old house. A woman notices her stepson Eddie disappearing every day after school. She follows him one day to find out where he goes and discovers something shocking. Nothing made Tina happy. She kept cursing her fate and believed she was living a life of hell. She had everything a woman could ask for but a loving partner, and it hurt her to the core. She knew Robert, her first and only love in college, would have moved on by now. It had been 13 years since they broke up and vowed never to see each other again. It was just a silly quarrel between lovers that sparked and led to their split. They never met again, and Tina remained single as she could not bring herself to fall in love again. Then one day, Tina, 34, started following Robert, 35, on Facebook. She was curious to see his family, wife, and kids. But what Tina saw made her eyes beam with joy. Divorced? She cried out in delight after reading a bunch of comments from Robert's friends consoling him over his divorce from his wife. A strange thought struck Tina and she decided to get her ex-lover back. Rob, everything happens for a reason. I hope you soon find someone special to bring back sunshine into your life. She messaged him after immediately setting one of her best photos as her profile picture. No sooner had she sent that message than a notification popped. It was from Robert, and as Tina clicked on the message, butterflies fluttered in her gut. She was nervous, happy, and confused. Mixed emotions overcame her. They started chatting for a few months, and one fine day, Robert asked Tina out on a coffee date. Tina decided not to miss the chance and readily replied, "Yes. How about this weekend?" followed by coffee and heart emojis. Their meeting that weekend felt like a breath of fresh air and a ray of sunshine bursting through dark clouds. They fell in love at first sight all over again, and as they planned on starting a new chapter in their lives, Robert introduced Tina to Eddie, his 10-year-old son. Tina was prepared to be involved in Robert and Eddie's lives, but fate had a different plan. Months after a whirlwind romance, Robert and Tina tied the knot in an intimate ceremony and moved into a rented apartment. Tina knew Robert went through a rough patch in his previous marriage, so she never dug deep into it. She didn't want to hurt him by inquiring about his past. As days fleeted by, the family lived the happiest days of their lives with their son. Tina loved Eddie and did her best to give him all her love and care while shuttling between home and her career as a fashion designer. One day, Tina arrived home from a party and saw Robert waiting in the living room. She noticed 2 suitcases near him and didn't immediately understand why Robert was leaving all of a sudden. "Hon, where are you going?" she asked, anxiety crawling through every nerve of her body. Robert knew how this would hurt Tina, but he mustered the courage to tell her he was leaving to serve the country. "You're joining the military? But why, hon? Eddie and I need you. We can't be happy without you. Eddie will be upset if he learns this. Darling, I told Eddie everything, and he agreed. I always wanted to do something for my country. I've enrolled in the army with my friend Luke. I am leaving tonight." Although upset by his sudden decision, Tina supported Robert. They kissed and hugged tearfully as he left for another state. Time passed too quickly, and Tina started missing Robert more and more, but she never showed it as she didn't want to worry Eddie. While Robert was away on duty, Tina cared for their son day and night. During this time, Eddie harbored a beautiful bond with Tina, and nothing could have made her happier than when he called her mom one day. She loved him like her own and was delighted to hear him say it. Life with Eddie had been blissful until one day when Tina left her office to pick him up from school. She got a terrifying call from the military hospital regarding Robert. What? No, it can't be. She cried when an officer informed her of Robert's death during combat at the border. Tina's heart dropped and ached. She lost the love of her life for the second time, and there was no coming back. But what destroyed her more was telling Eddie. "How will I tell my son his father is dead?" She cried her way to Eddie's school. "Mom, why are you sad?" Eddie kept asking Tina during their drive home from school. Tina tried to hold off until they reached home, and she hugged Eddie. "Promise me you'll be strong, and you can cry on my shoulders as long as you want. But promise me you'll not let go of me 'cause I need you." "Mom, I promise." What is it? Tina pulled herself together and told Eddie that his father had died. She felt the whole world's weight on her shoulders as Eddie hugged her tight and cried. That day, Tina and Eddie needed each other more than anything else. Several days ticked away as Eddie and Tina slowly healed. When Eddie left for school every morning, he hugged his late dad's favorite shirt on the coat hanger. It comforted his ailing heart. As Tina and Eddie moved on and things slowly returned to normal, something strange started happening. Whenever Tina went to pick up Eddie from his school, she never found him there. She would ask his friends, who often told her he left a while back. Once she gets home, Eddie would be waiting for her at the doorstep. Sometimes he would return home late, and when she asked him why, he would her he had soccer practice at school. Tina knew it was a blunt lie because she learned from his friends that there was no soccer practice after school. Where does this boy disappear to after school? Tina wondered. She needed to find out. One afternoon, she waited outside Eddie's school earlier than usual. She saw Eddie exiting the gate and silently followed him. He marched inside a grocery store and moments later walked toward a secluded area. What's he doing here? Tina wondered as Eddie proceeded to an old, shabby house near the woods. Terrified, Tina got out of her car and knocked on the door. Moments later, Eddie answered the door and was startled to see his mother. "Mom, what are you doing here?" he stammered. "What are you doing here, and what's happening, Eddie?" Tina asked, and then heard a faint voice of a woman from inside. "Eddie, who is there?" Eddie could not hide the truth from Tina anymore. He gazed into her eyes and revealed who was inside. "Mom, I came here to see my mother." "What? Your mother?" "Mom, after Dad died, my mother came to me after school one day. I gave her our landline number. She called me and told me she wanted to see me. Dad never allowed me to talk to her. After he was gone, I decided I wanted to meet with her. I came here and saw she was sick, so I've been coming here after school to bring her food." Tina could not believe her eyes when she saw Sandra, Eddie's estranged mother and the late Robert's ex-wife. She was sick and skinny and could barely get up. Tina pulled herself together to talk to Sandra, only to learn that the woman got a taste of her own medicine. "I kicked my husband and son out of my house because I was never satisfied with Robert's earnings. I divorced Robert and wanted to move on with my dream life, but my greed dragged me to the streets. Robert forbade my son from seeing me. After I learned he died, I knew I had to see Eddie." Tina pitied Sandra, although she knew that the woman had wronged her husband and son in every aspect. Most of all, she respected Eddie's love for his estranged mother, so she helped him to take care of his mom. She took Sandra to the hospital, then welcomed her to her home after she was treated. Eddie grew up under the love and care of both his mothers, and he was never made to choose between them. Several years passed, and one day, Eddie lost his birth mother. Sandra lost her battle with cancer. Tina and Eddie, who was now 22, moved on after another significant loss of their loved one. Eddie graduated with a degree in architecture, and whenever Tina saw him, he reminded her of her late beloved Robert, who she amusingly imagined quarreling with Sandra in their afterlife. Meanwhile, Tina decided to give her best for Eddie's future and cried no more over Robert's death. She believed nothing, not even death, can sever the bonds of love that last forever. What can we learn from this story? Our loved ones never truly leave us because there are certain things death can never touch. Tina was shattered after her beloved husband Robert's death, but she mustered the courage to move on for her son Eddie's sake. Mom is not a title you earn just by giving birth. Tina was Eddie's stepmother, but she never treated him like her stepson. She loved him to the core and strived for his happiness and a brighter future.